So we worked with frames, and now it's time to work with text. So you can press this T button on the toolbar to be able to drag a little text box. And right now I want to give this trading card a name, which is the name of the character. So I'm gonna call this Baby Duck. And that looks pretty small for text. You can see here that it's 12 pixels. I'm just going to bump it up until it looks good for the size of the card that we made. I can adjust the size of the box to be more tighter to the actual text, and there you have it. You can also change the type of the font by going into the typography section. Right now I have a font that's called Inter, but Figma also comes with a variety of different fonts, including the entire library of Google fonts. So there's so many different choices here. I know that there is a font that is kind of cool and pixelated that I like called Press Start 2P. And maybe the font is going to make the text break into 2 lines, so I can adjust the size of the text box here and maybe bump the font size down a bit here. The next thing I want to create on the trading card is a little kind of HP section for my character. So I'm going to give it 100 HP. And one thing you can do with text is make certain parts of the text smaller than the others. So the HP is not as interesting here. I kind of want the number to shine, so I'm going to make that bigger. And then make the HP pretty small. So there you have some basic text on the trading card. One thing I want to do is create a little element icon on the top right. Also saved on my computer that I've just pasted in is this little SVG file image with this fire symbol. And you can see that I can resize it however I want to. Because it is an SVG image, so it's scalable. And it looks kind of plain just sitting like that. So what I'm going to do is combine it with a shape to make it more interesting. The third icon in the toolbar is this shape tool section. It's default rectangle, but you can choose any shape that you want. So I want to make an ellipse. So I'm going to select that and click and drag to make an ellipse here. And pro tip, you can also hold down the shift button to make it uniform 1-to-1 in the width and height. So I'm going to make a nice clean circle like that, maybe 80 pixels by 80 pixels, and then drag my fire icon in the middle. I'm just doing this in a random location right now. I'm going to move all of these later, and I'm going to create a basic background for this fire element icon. Maybe I'll make it like a more orangey yellow here and give it a stroke that's white. And I'm going to make the flame a little bit smaller. So another powerful action you can do in Figma is grouping elements. So right now you can move all of these icons independently, but if you select 2 items, right now I'm going to hold down the shift key to do this. I can click on the ellipse, and I can also click on the fire icon, and I will right click and group the selection together. And you can see now they move as a unit. And just seeing here, I noticed that it's outside of the card base, but I want it to be inside, so I can drag it into the layers here as well. So I'm going to call this my element icon. And it looks a little big for the card. Another really great tool that you can use in Figma is the scale tool. You see that this first icon has this cursor, and if you hover over it, it says move. If you press the little triangle here, you can get the scale button. So scale will scale whatever you've selected proportionally. If I didn't select that, it would kind of not scale as proportionally. You can see that the outline takes up a lot of space compared to the icon itself if you make it smaller. So I'm just going to scale it down to something a little bit smaller, maybe 58 pixels by 58 pixels, and then align these items all together. And I'm going to exit out of this scale section to go get my mover back. I will clean up the top section as well by nudging down the size of my text to make sure it all can fit on one line. Cool. And there you have the first part of the card, which is the header. Next, I want to create the section that will display my character, Baby Duck. And what I'm going to do is create another frame within the card base frame. So I can click the frame button and then make this kind of shorter rectangle inside. I'm going to give it a fill, maybe just gray to start off with. And then I will put Baby Duck, the image, inside of this frame. So now you can see that the trading card look is starting to come together. Maybe gray is going to be really ugly for this. I can change it to whatever color I want. But for here, I'm going to show you how to create a gradient. So the first option you have is a solid color. The next option in line is to create a gradient. So I'm going to click that, and you can see it makes a gradient with the color that I've chosen. Right now you can see it makes a gradient with a darker version of blue. I don't want it to be that dark. Maybe I just want it to be, a little bit darker. So I'm going to change the color here from this pale blue to this brighter blue. So yeah, that looks like a great background for my character. And again, maybe I want to create a little bit of a rounded border for this character section. And add a stroke as well. The final section of the card that I want to create is a section with the character's moves. So kind of if this character had attacks, what would they be? And just so you know, I'm looking at references of other popular trading card styles, so I'm not completely making this out of the top of my head. The idea that I imagine is sort of these three kind of bullet points with different moves and descriptions at the bottom. Copy and paste the text I have at top to also use as the names of the moves. So I can change this. So maybe the first move is called Sing. And I'm going to adjust the text box here. And I can select both of these and then copy and paste to create my other section. I'm going to call this one Intimidate. And then I'm going to call this one Combust. So this 30 Nights of Code pet is a fire type. So that's why I have imagined Combust as a move. And this looks good. One thing I want to do is make this text a little bit smaller. So right now it's the same size as the title, but I want to bump it down a smidge, maybe 19 pixels. And then one more thing I want to do is add a line to each of these that describes what the move does. So for Sing, I'm going to make the description break out the Mariah Carey. So I'm just creating like these simple, silly little descriptions for each. I don't like that this is the same font as the top. I want it to have a little more contrast. So I'm going to pick a very simple kind of plain font that's readable, which is Arial. You can pick whatever font you want, but this is what I have off the top of my head. And I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And I kind of wish I copy and pasted it while I had made that for the first one, but one thing I do is copy that section and also paste it in another text box too. Actually, no, sorry. The style does not transfer, so I might have to adjust that all manually here, but that's okay. So I'm going to change that one to Arial, 16 pixels. And then I will change that one to Arial, and then also make that 16 pixels. And then I'm going to replace the text inside. So I'll say scare away your opponents. And then I will say the world will be born again from your ashes. And maybe I think that these little text boxes are a little too far away from the icon, so I can also drag and reposition them. So what's neat about Figma is that you can see a really precise location of where everything is at in the position section. So when I click on this text box, I can see X position is 104. It's 104 for this. And then the third one is 101. So if I want to quickly adjust them to be in the same position, I can change this one to be 104 as well. And I can just double check that all of my icons are in the same position too. One more thing that might be good to do here is to group these with their icons as well. So I'm going to create new groups with the text and the icon sections. And I have these 3 icons. They're not so evenly spaced here, and one thing you can do is go into the layout section. You can see that this section is called mixed, but if I replaced it with something like 10 pixels, it would evenly space each item. So this is a really helpful tool to use, especially in interface design, where you want to create a lot of regularity between the things that you are creating. So here's my very basic card design, and for finishing touches, I'm going to make some additional changes.